Hi there, my name is Aaron Short and welcome to my YouTube channel. Last year, 2019 Winter NAMM, Yamaha released a new pickup system, which I was very impressed by, and I've not heard many people talking about it, so I want to talk about it some more on the channel. And my friend Sam at Line 6 does a lot of work with modeling, and I found out that he also did some work on this pickup system, so he's very kindly agreed to join me today. So please say hi to Sam. How you doing, Sam?
Hello.
So let's get started with an introduction. Actually, like I didn't know you had a background in acoustic guitar. I know you for doing amp modeling in the Line 6 Helix. So can we start with the background? Like what kind of guitars have you played, and what's your experience with guitars before Line 6?
Well, I mostly grew up kind of just an overall tech and everything like that, and I worked as a professional luthier for many years. And with that, along with just playing guitar, occasional gigs here and there, and everything, I would also basically be fixing anything from guitars, pedals, amps, all of the electronics. I also have a long history in doing live sound reinforcement and a little bit of recording experience as well. So. Mostly with the acoustic guitars is just it's something I've always played. My first acoustic guitar actually was a Yamaha, and
Me too.
um, yeah, that served me very well for many years. And it's just kind of always been something I always had to have.
Mm.
It's it's kind of the core of what acoustic guitar that you have kind of have at home.
So what is your experience with live sound for acoustic guitar pickups before these systems then? What have you used any pickups in the past or installed any for clients in the past?
I've installed pretty much everything under the sun and used everything under the sun.
Mm. And what's your thoughts on acoustic guitar amplification?
Well, I've never enjoyed the standard piezoelectric sound.
Mm.
Just the kind of transients that you get from them, the kind of like what's the plinkiness of it all. So
We like to call it quack, but I know
yeah,
Larry Fishman doesn't like it when I say that. But
yeah,
quack, that kind of metallic, especially if the video they saw at the start of the video here that I was playing the guitar, if you
mhm,
really dig in, I was deliberately playing very hard. If you really dig into an undercello pickup, it gets very kind of metallic and
mhm,
quacky, and it breaks up. Fingerstyle can work okay, but when you really
mhm,
dig in with a heavy pick, that's when you can get the issues. So
yep,
yeah, so that's why I'd like to ask people. I have a whole series on this channel about acoustic guitar pickups where I review them. I've done a review of the Yamaha, this new Yamaha system, and I
mhm,
basically just review them all and the pros and the cons and do a demo of each one. There's so many ways that you can do this.
mhm,
So before we get started, let's talk about the history of Yamaha's acoustic guitar pickups before this system. I know I'm pretty familiar with the SRT Zero Impact pickup. That's
mhm,
basically what you're talking about. It's a passive undersaddle pickup, and they used that in several models. And then a lot of people are familiar with the SRT2, which uses Yamaha don't say this, but it's basically using kind of impulse response technology. And they were doing that many years ago. They were way ahead of their time with that system. And also there was a body sensor based system as well that I never got to try.
mhm.
But I'm surprised. So my first question then, I just need to clear this up. Is there any impulse response technology in the Atmosfeel system?
No.
There's not. So I feel like the whole industry now is moving towards impulse response technology, and Yamaha were there so many years ago with the system they had with that. I'm surprised that this system doesn't have it. But having said that, it sounds very natural anyway. But maybe that's something we can discuss. I'm surprised that this almost is a not a step back, but it's a different direction than going for the impulse response that everyone's chasing right now. And I guess we can discuss the pros and cons of impulse response tech as we go as well, because obviously users with a Helix are loading acoustic guitar impulses in. I get asked all the time about loading impulse responses in the Helix for acoustic guitars. And a
Mhm,
friend of mine from the Acoustic Guitar Forum just made an application where you can actually make an impulse response of your own acoustic guitar, which is really cool. And it sounds really good. And you can load that into the Helix. But I like the Atmosfeel pickup because it just sounds good anyway. I don't feel it needs anything else. It just sounds really, really good. So let's get started with what this thing is. Let me put a picture up on the screen for our viewers so they can see it. I've got a picture here from Yamaha, which is the one I had on the ad there. So it's three pickups, and a lot of pickups I review are one or two, and I do feel that often the more pickups in the guitar, the better. Sometimes you don't want too much stuff in there. I've noticed with this, and I'll show pictures inside the guitar later, there's not really too much stuff in the guitar. It's awesome. It's an undercello pickup. a microphone, and a contact sensor. And I believe each one is doing its own job, right? Is this using crossovers? So each one only does a certain frequency range?
A little bit of everything, yeah. So mostly there are certain areas that are kind of just, either low pass or high pass to get rid of unwanted elements of each pickup, or, areas that it doesn't work particularly well and or is compensated well by another system.
Okay. So let's start with the bass then. Let me bring up a picture of the undersaddle pickup here. So this is the Yamaha Zero Impact pickup, basically. It's the gold thing that you can see there. It sits under the saddle. So this is only doing the low end. Only handling the low end, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I sent you the pictures because we have a lag on the stream.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is just for low end. I think a lot of people know that these kind of pickups under the saddle are very good at low end, but they get that quack on the high end.
Mhm.
So it makes a lot of sense to only use it for the low end. So I totally get that. And I believe that's how, I think like the Anthem does that as well. It uses the undersaddle just for the low end, and it uses a mic for everything else.
Mhm.
But this doesn't just have a mic, this has a mic and a body sensor. And I'm a big fan of body sensor kind of pickups. I managed to grab a picture from inside the guitar. Let me pull it up on the screen. This stuff really fascinates me as the geek that I am to see what it looks like. Now that body sensor is incredibly thin. It looks light and thin. Can you tell us? I mean, I know you worked on the voicing of the preamp. I don't know if you know all the ins and outs of the actual parts, components of the pickup. But what do you know about that body sensor and how it works?
That body sensor is something that was custom designed by Yamaha and made by Yamaha, specifically for the purpose of reproducing acoustic instruments with very little mass. With most pickup systems, the more mass you add to a system, it changes the resonances and it changes the feel, changes the sustain, especially on something like a guitar. You can get away with a little bit more mass on let's say pianos with a big heavy soundboard. But even then when you have a mass just at a certain point, you can disrupt a lot of the acoustic nodes and everything on a soundboard.
Yeah, obviously the top resonates. So if you hang something heavy on there, it's going to interfere with the sound of the guitar unplugged. So I love the design of this. There's other pickup systems that use 3 components as well, kind of built into the guitar, and it can kind of like add weight and restrict the way the guitar resonates, which you can argue is good on stage. But what I've noticed about this guitar is that it still sounds really good unplugged. I haven't compared it to one without the pickup system, but I can just tell that what's in the guitar isn't affecting the unplugged tone. It still sounds really, in fact, it's one of the loudest guitars that I've actually played. It's really loud.
Yeah, and that's
good.
one area that Yamaha actually put a lot of work into, is not just the electronics but also the acoustics. The new NX guitars are actually a complete ground up reconstruction of the nylon string guitars, because Yamaha usually is dedicated for durability, reliability. Sometimes you do sacrifice a little bit of kind of liveliness because of the fact that you have to just make it more robust. But Yamaha has been investing into putting a lot more work into making accurate and a little bit more lightweight and more vibrant design with the new NX series. So all of the guitars have a new bracing, different bracing. The tops are a little bit thinner. The finish is trying to go on as thin as possible. So it's really trying to maximize the acoustics. And then from that, we wanted to make sure that the electronic systems keeps up with those changes as well.
I'm a big fan of body sensor pickups, and I wish more acoustic pickups had them. And the reason is, if you want to do drumming and percussion, that body sensor it does what it says. It picks up the body, and you can really drum on that guitar, and you can loop it, which a lot of players are doing now. So it's very important to have that element. I also like the kind of mid-range grit that it gives as well. So I think that's important. Actually, it's interesting. Another company has a 3-way pickup where the mic does the treble, and the body sensor does the mids and the percussion. But on this system, the undersaddle pickup is doing the bass, and the sensor is doing the treble, and the mic is there for that they say Atmosfeel, so atmosphere, the kind of atmospheric 3D sound, right? Yeah, so let's talk about the mic. And the mic is also clever. The mic is not stuck. There's not a huge mic stuck inside the guitar. In fact, I can't even see the mic. Let me show you a picture of the circuit board. This is the preamp that's inside. And 1 second, there it is. So there is quite a large circuit board. You can't see it unless you really look inside the guitar. It doesn't look like it's stuck to the guitar. It's almost kind of floating there, which I think is absolutely fine as well. And I have no idea what this thing is doing. Is the microphone on this circuit board, by any chance?
Yeah, it's on the circuit board. It's on the opposite side to actually get the reflection off the
Wow.
sideboard. Because if you have a microphone just kind of facing towards the inside, you're a little bit more susceptible to feedback. You're
Mm.
also not getting a very similar resonance as you do as if the microphone was outside the guitar.
Mm.
So with it on the opposite side, you get a little bit different reflection. You get a little bit more feedback resistance from the microphone itself, while still being able to kind of get a little bit more natural than just having a microphone just kind of somewhere inside the guitar.
Mm.
The best microphone systems for internal use is usually right around where the sound hole meets the top.
Right.
Just because that's where that boundary is between where the internal box and the sound waves that are created outside of the box are going to meet.
Yeah. So it's hidden away, so it won't feed back, but it's still picking up the sound. So it's on the other side of that circuit board. If I was
Correct.
okay, that's cool.
And it's kind of, and just another point about the whole the acoustic resonance, the only points that are contacting the body itself is the three knobs.
Mm. Yeah.
And
Let me show those on the top here. This is an official picture. So the three controls, very clever. Now there's a big thing in industry now, like we don't want to drill holes in the sides of our guitar. And then there's people like me that play on stage that want access to controls to kind of tweak as I go, maybe to switch from fingerstyle to strumming. So I think this is done very well. It's very minimal. You don't really see it. It gives you a lot of control over the sound. Again, I think it's very well thought out. And if you look on the master volume, there's even a small battery LED indicator to show you when your battery needs replacing. Very, very clever. Some people put the battery indicator inside the guitar. Well, I'm never going to find that while I'm playing a gig, right? So this, the whole thing, I have to say, is just incredibly well thought out. As a pickup fan, acoustic amplification fan, this thing has been thought out so well. I'm just super, super impressed. Let's talk about these controls. You've got the master volume. Obviously, it's your volume. It's nice to have if you want to turn up for a solo. Now, this is a new thing, the bass EQ on the right side there. What can you tell us about that?
So for the FG red label guitars that have the Atmosfeel system, the bass EQ is adjusting a few different kind of EQs to shape the low end, whether you want a little bit dark, a little bit more body on the bottom end for a little bit more strumming, or maybe you just need a little bit more body while you're finger doing fingerstyle and doing solo work. Or if you want to pull that low end out for a little bit more, just kind of rhythm work that you already have a full rhythm section that's kind of filling out that low end, and you don't want to just kind of muddy that area up.
It's interesting. I play Dreadnought normally, and I actually started doing low cuts around 100, 120 hertz anyway. So is this basically a high pass filter? Is this shelving out the low end?
It's not just a low cut, but it's more of a custom EQ shaping for the guitar.
Ah, okay. So basically it's adding bass or removing bass in the most simple way to explain it, but it's doing a bit more than that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So actually I like to turn that down. Again, when I'm playing on stage, I like kind of a cutting sound. So and I find when you cut the low end, it exposes the high end. That's something I do on the amp modelers too. Rather than turn the high end up, I turn the low end down, and it exposes more of the high end. So I think that control is very powerful. Again, very well thought out. Now the mic blend, I believe it says pick up to mic. By the way, this isn't on the guitar. This is like a plastic overlay they put on there so customers know what each control does. But the mic blend control goes from pickup only to microphone. Now that's not 100% microphone. That's a 50% blend, and I assume they did that so it won't feed back, and customers in the stores will say, "Oh, it's going to feed back on stage." I don't really find it a problem. I think it's enough microphone. I personally wouldn't mind the option of going to 100%, although I'm sure they tested that and probably thought it was a bad idea. But tell us about that control. So the mic is inside under that circuit board, and what is that? What frequencies is that dealing with?
It's a little bit different for each guitar. With the Atmosfeel system, as I've said, each individual model has a custom voicing. So depending on the size of the body, let's say between the FG and the FS, because you have different resonances, it will change the microphone response and the desired, what kind of characteristics the individual guitar model has. And you kind of either want to accentuate that and, kind of make it closer to the actual voice of the instrument.
Okay, so each one is custom done. I made a mistake in my review. I called this an analog system. Of course, it's not an analog system. You correctly told me it's got DSP, which means it's not analog. I think when I said analog, what I was trying to say is it doesn't have impulse response in it. You know, it's using actual physical pickups. That's kind of what I mean. I guess any pickup system with DSP controlling the EQ is not analog, right? Because obviously it's got circuit board in there. Yeah. So I on my review, just to clear it up, I meant no IRs. And again, I'm quite interested in the way that Yamaha have gone here, because they're usually very forward with kind of impulse response stuff. But then again, they were doing impulse responses like 15 years ago or something. So maybe they're ahead of us, ahead of me, you know. All right, so what other controls do we have then? So you're going to shape everything with the mic blend, the bass EQ, just those two controls. So is the idea... I mean, I wanted to ask viewers' thoughts. Like, before we went live, I played the video that I made comparing the mic and the pickup, and I think they sound really close. I think that I did cut some low end off the pickup. That's just my preference, and I think it doesn't quite have the room sound, but I think that's a good thing, because again, when I use impulse responses, I often get too much room sound, and I don't want that from the acoustic. So I wanted to ask them what they think about it. I also use external EQ as well, because a lot of people on the forums talk about, I want my acoustic guitar to be the same but louder plugged in. And I think this kind of gets you there. But that's not always the sound that I want. And I think, you know, certain pickups have a sound. Certain players like just an undersaddle pickup. Some players have to use a K&K body sensor. Some players, you know, I have the Maton guitar. They want that sound. It has a sound. The pickup has a sound. But do you think the goal of this one was just to make it as close to the actual source guitar as possible? Is that the goal?
Yeah, so you know, as with any system using IRs, you're always going to be hearing the microphone, the room. It's going to be a system. It's more like the recorded experience with an IR-based system. And of course, you know, with the way things are with the live sound, you know, you have that live experience is going to be very different. With the goal with this particular system was to have it more on that kind of like the guitar in the room setup, or basically what you're hearing with your ears from the guitar. And that was kind of like the specific goal and the niche that we wanted to head towards with this pickup.
Yeah, I assume so. Just to clear it up, then there's the Dreadnought size guitar, which is the Dreadnought, which is all mahogany back and sides, and there's the smaller like concert size guitar as well in the range. And then at the Winter NAMM just gone in 2020, you released the nylon string version. I haven't tried this one, so how does that pickup system? How is it different to this one? Is it the same, exactly the same?
So the elements are the same. So the three pickup system, the undersaddle, the microphone, the body sensor. The preamp is, you know, the same electronics more or less, but the voicings on each of them is completely different. So, you know, we basically start from scratch on each model and kind of go from there and kind of shape each of the elements to what they're best at in that guitar, and then what each model has in terms of resonances with the different types of tone woods, the different shapes between the NCX and the NTX. And kind of accentuate the characters and the individualness of the guitar itself.
Wow, so I find this fascinating. I just assumed it was three pickups, each kind of just cut at a certain point, and you're saying that they're custom done for each guitar. I mean, are you even like removing like feedback frequencies? Are you taking things like that out as well?
To a certain point, yes. So unwanted feedback frequencies that are resonant in the guitar but doesn't add to like the characteristic tone or the timbre of the guitar, we do try to control a little bit of those areas.
Wow, it's really. Can you go into a bit more detail how this works? Because this is an area of the acoustic guitar pickups that I know nothing about. The most I do is I get my source pickup and I use EQ. Like I used some EQ on the video I played. I used the Pod Go with 2 EQ blocks, and I like to shape the sound. So can you tell us more? Because I'm not quite clear yet. What have you actually done in that preamp in the guitar in sort of fine detail? Can you give me like a complete rundown of the bass of each pickup and what's actually going on there?
I don't remember all the details off the head because, you know, frequencies and everything like that, and also it was a long development process.
Well, not exact numbers, but just more of an idea of how it works in more details.
Yeah. So especially because I come from the background of both sound engineering in live sound and recording, but more on the live sound side. Approach it as just kind of think of it as an instrument that's, having three different pickup elements in itself, or let's say you have, an instrument that's being like a piano that has a few different microphones on it.
Mm.
You don't want to just put full band on everything just because you're just going to muddy the sound, or yeah, it might sound big, but it might not sound big in the right way. So if you know your microphones, if you know your elements, and kind of know what particular characteristics that each pickup system or microphone or anything like that is going to put into it, you want to try to kind of use those for what it's good at, and use other areas or different positioning, different microphones or different systems to compensate for areas where you need a little bit of reinforcement.
Mm.
So for the piezo system, because the piezo system has a very strong responsive feel, especially in the lows, but we want to use a lot of those areas for the low end frequencies, and the high end frequencies, because the contact sensor is so sensitive.
Mm.
um, it can kind of fill those areas in without having a lot of that kind of like, the over compressed sound that you get from a piezoelectric system.
Mm.
And then the microphone to kind of get all those tiny reflections, all those time based interactions between the body, the top, the back, the sides, and as the sound comes in, as the sound pressure changes between inside and outside the guitar, a little bit, but more or less just the reflections between the top and the back, and uh, all those kind of weird comb filtering and stuff that you get from those kind of systems.
Mm. Well, there's a lot of thought been put into this thing, more than I realized, So
Hmm.
it's impressive. I quickly want to talk about batteries because I covered this guitar with Henning and and Ross at NAM, and I mentioned AA batteries. I was talking to Ross
Hmm.
about it, and Henning laughed at me like, "Oh, why are you talking about batteries? Is there a reason? Let's get incredibly geeky now. I don't even care. Is there a reason why this guitar uses two AA batteries instead of a 9-volt battery?"
Uh, I would say that a lot of it is just to make the area that the that gets cut out is a lot more small, because if you put it in the end pin, or if you put it on the sides, you have this mass hanging on the side with a 9-volt battery and a holder. If you put it on the end pin, you don't want to make the end block too big to hold a 9-volt, but we also wanted to put the jack and everything like that.
Mm.
So because you can make the AA batteries a lot more compact, and I'm only speaking on these on speculation because the electronic engineers did all that on the Yamaha side.
Mm.
But for me, I prefer the system because AA's are just generally more available than 9 volts,
Yeah.
and also they're a lot more consistent in size,
Yeah.
and the compactness and the kind of lightweightness that we can get into the guitar is really all benefits for it.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, if you're in the chat and you play acoustic guitar with a battery, have you ever found that they all vary in size? Like, and especially I think it's the lithiums can be bigger. And I had a guitar arrive, and there was this really loud rattle, and I thought there must be a loose cable or something inside, and I was shaking it. And then I pulled the battery out, and it was just the battery. The battery inside was too small for the compartment. So some people wrap tape around there. I just used one of my larger batteries. I know they're larger. I put one in, and it fixed it. I know Taylor had a huge thing with this for years. Like the
Hmm.
battery, that they were all different sizes. They wouldn't fit into the cradle. You had to cut the end off the cradle. They've now resized the cradles, and it seems to have fixed the problem years later. But I get the whole thing about AA batteries being more consistent. I also read somewhere that they have more, like they last longer. Is that true? They have more available power?
Not necessarily. The milliamp hours on the 9-volt batteries is technically larger, but I forget. I forget the numbers exactly on those, so I can't confirm or deny either way.
Well, the quote I know Maton used AA batteries, the Australian company, and the quote I
Hmm.
took from them is why AA batteries? They have almost twice the stored energy of a 9-volt for approximately the same space requirement, therefore giving the performer a much longer operational life. I don't know. But yes, there are reasons. I think you're right about the size as well, because this is it's really funny when you take the battery holder out of the guitar. It's like a long tube, and you've got the two
Hmm.
the two batteries in this long tube. It looks kind of weird, like a pencil. It looks kind of weird. But what that means is you've got less space in the end of the guitar. There's a smaller hole that's been drilled. So I think that's
Hmm.
clever. Let me just show that picture on the screen as well of the back of the guitar inside, just so we can get an idea of it. You can see that, yeah. So you see that black box below the cable at the very back of the guitar. That is the end of the battery holder coming inside the guitar. So yeah, it's really impressive. There's not much. There's really not much in there, is there? Even the cabling is kind of smart. What happens if people have a problem with this system? Is it easy to service, or would they? I guess they'd have to go to a Yamaha service center, right?
Correct.
Yeah, of course. All right, what I'd like to do is we've got some people in the chat. I'd like to play my comparison video and ask them what they think of the system. I just want to preface it with this. One is a pickup, one is an actual microphone in front of the guitar, so they're going to sound different. The one I recorded with the pickup is EQ'd with 2 EQ blocks on the helix, and I did cut some lows, maybe more than I should have done. But anyway, I don't want to make excuses. I want to play the video and see what people think. So let me just add a scene here. Okay, so yeah, please put in the comments below, what do you think of the two sounds, both the guitar unplugged and the sound plugged in, and we'll discuss it when we come back. Okay, here we go. So what did you think? I'll tell you how I used that. So I like to turn the mic to maximum. And then what happens is you lose a lot of the grit because there's a lot of ambience there. So what I then did is that's why I cut some lows and added more mids and trebles to compensate. That's just kind of the sound that I'm used to. I guess I play the Anthem a lot. I'm used to that kind of sound maybe. I don't know, but that's how I deal with it. I guess most people would turn the mic to kind of halfway or position where they get the sound, and you could always turn it all the way off if you want to do fingerstyle and get a real cutting sound for a band. But yeah, please tell us in the chat what you think. And when you do it the way I said, that's my preference. I do have to use external EQ, but I feel like all pickups benefit from external EQ because there's the room and there's specific sounds that we want to custom things for. And I really think that the HX Stomp, I was just telling the guy on the acoustic guitar forum today, the HX Stomp is a great acoustic DI because yeah, you could basically load 10 or 8 EQ blocks up there, right? And the master EQ as well, and just use it for EQ. It's brilliant for that. I might never need 8 EQs, but it's great that you have that flexibility with it. I had to give the HX Stomp a plug because you work for line 6. Let me just read out the chat and let us know what you think of the sounds there. So I've got Patsy Smith from the UK, Bob Dobson from Washington. How you doing, Bob? Good to see you again. And Jay Anderson says, best thing that ever happened to line 6 was Yamaha. Would you agree with that, Sam?
I would say that was definitely a good partnership. It aligned very well.
I would say the best thing that happened to Yamaha was line 6. How about that?
I would say it's a good partnership.
Yeah, I've had Joe on, and I said to Joe, look, the acoustic Variax was, again, so ahead of its time. Like, are we going to get more of those? He said, no, we're not doing acoustic stuff. We're focusing on electric. Okay, I mean, the Helix makes a great companion for an acoustic guitar. I'd like to see more acoustic stuff in there personally, but that's just me. But the way that Yamaha are working with you guys to further develop the acoustic side is exciting for me. You're just all working together on everything. And I think that's great, because everyone can help each other. So it can only be a great thing, right? Corazon is here. How you doing, Corazon? And okay, so Bob says pickup sounds great. Bob, give me some more words. I guess that's fine, right? It sounds great. Yeah, that's fair enough. And Michael said the same thing. Sounded great. What I like about it is it's so natural. It's so simple. And there's no hint of any kind of metallic quack or anything. And like I said, you can still bang on it and do your percussion, which a lot of pickups don't have. And I think that's so important that you have that, especially now with our loopers and the loop pedals and things. And the way you can just turn that down, I didn't demo this, but if you turn the mic off, you get a much more cutting, direct sound, which is great for lead solos and things like that. Again, if you're looping, that's really important. Jay said, I like the mic, but it sounds nice with the pickup. And Patsy said, like the pickup best, but both sounded good. So here's the thing. I'm not usually, that guitar is mahogany. Mahogany isn't my first choice. I'm a rosewood fan, okay? So the fact that I like the guitar, even though it's mahogany, is a very impressive thing. And you've obviously got the nylon version. So the only difference with the nylon version that just came out, the NX, is that the bass control is now a treble control. Is that
Correct.
Right? So is that like a treble boost or a treble cut then?
It's a little bit of both. The way we voiced it was kind of more like you can kind of think of it like a tilt EQ. Since this one I remember a little bit, you're moving both the low cut up and down, as well as kind of like the enhancing some of the higher frequencies and decreasing in certain ways. So you're always kind of having the same amount of sonic space being taken up, just shifting kind of where that focus is.
So that's the only difference. I mean, obviously things. Oh, lost you for a second. Hang on. So yeah, I mean, I think this is great. What I was going to say to that. Yeah, it's that whole thing of it sounds so similar to the guitar. It's so impressive, but now I know why, because it's been shaped specifically for that model of guitar.
Correct.
So that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I got to say, like this particular guitar, like total was like $900. So for an under $1,000 guitar that sounds that good plugged in and that good unplugged. I mean, I know Yamaha are known for value for money, right? My first acoustic was a Yamaha, and I had it until recently. It still sounded amazing. That's the guitar I had as a teenager. So I understand that, but the technology in this. I mean, do you know how long they were working on this pickup system?
Ooh, not the full history, no. They mostly brought me on after all the electronics were done. Most of the red label work was already done as well. It's just the nylon string development started, and that was at least a year and a half, almost 2 years of work just for voicing just the nylon string models alone. So because each individual model has its own voicing cycles.
Yeah, I can believe it. I think I saw it first at Winter NAMM 2019. They weren't shipping until kind of summer 2019, and even now they're hard to get hold of. I'll put links below to what the guitars we're talking about on Sweetwater, but they're always sold out, because I know some of these guitars are made in Japan, some are made in China. I read that the ones made in Japan are made by one person. Is that true?
I do not know that one. I don't believe so, but I can be wrong.
Yeah, that's what I read.
But they do have a small handful. They do have a very, very handmade process over down there.
Yeah, I'm sure a smaller team and handmade. Yeah. But this one's great. And like I said, for an under $1,000 guitar that records that well and sounds that good on stage is awesome. I know everything's been disrupted now, but I'll put it out there. I think they would sell a lot if they made a rosewood cutaway kind of stage guitar. So if you're watching anyone from Yamaha, aside from Sam, I think you should consider that. I'm sure they have considered it, and I see people saying that a lot, because I think on stage this thing just excels. They've had a cutaway. Actually, it's interesting. The nylon version has a cutaway, right?
The NTX versions do, and actually, yeah, they do. There's one right there.
Yeah, let me show it on the screen. Yeah, that looks nice. That looks really great. Okay, let me just see. I've got a chat here. GMAC said Paul Simon played a Yamaha for a long time. I think everyone's played a Yamaha guitar. Certainly most people I know started with Yamaha guitars. But yeah, Paul Simon. And Rusty said Maiten Takamine and others have proved the advantage of designing a pickup system around a specific guitar. Well, I agree, but I think they go even further. They kind of build the guitar around the pickup, and I feel like it's more about the plugged-in sound. The reason I'm impressed with this system is that it's been built around the guitar, but the guitar is still a good guitar. And I think that's important. That's something that I've been talking about on my pickup series. You know, I want a guitar that sounds great unplugged and find a system that also sounds good plugged in. Now, I know this isn't an aftermarket system. You can't just install it in any guitar, I'm sure. And also because it's voiced for the guitar. And you also can't put these into older Yamaha guitars. But as an all-in-one guitar, all-round guitar, this is one of the best that I've found because, like I said, it sounds great unplugged and it's still very loud and responsive. And it sounds great plugged in, like really, really natural plugged in and very flexible. So I really have to give it to Yamaha. They really have done a good job here. And I often say to companies, you know, why don't you do like your own in-house pickup for your guitars? And they've really thought about everything and put it into this one. So it really is impressive. So what do you think the future is then? Do you think acoustic? I mean, I ask everyone about acoustic IRs because IRs are such a hot topic now with the Helix and the Kemper and all these things, and now it's in the acoustic world with the. Have you heard of the Tone Dexter and the Fishman Aura and the there's a new one coming from my friends at Bags. They've got one coming out as well. It's like the hot topic now is acoustic IRs. And they are great, and they can be great, I think, for recording, especially live streaming, stuff like that. But live, they haven't really worked for me yet, as well as like this pickup or the Anthem type pickup has. So do you think impulse response technology for acoustic guitars is something that people should be looking into, or do you think that this kind of system is more the way forward?
I would definitely say both because it depends on your needs. If you're doing a lot of recording and you just need something that is more close to the recorded sound, then the IR system works out really well. They do work really well on stage to kind of compensate for the limitations of standard electronic pickup systems. I know that the FG Red labels and the Nylon NX guitars were just made to just enjoy the guitar itself, so it's a little bit different of an approach. So for the voicing, just the usability of how fast you can get to the system and adjust it, for us it's definitely made for players that kind of more are playing live and interacting live with the instrument. So the IRs is really great, but I feel like with this kind of system where you can adjust things on the fly, get a different voicing, if you're having one song with a certain sound and a different song with a different sound, you can kind of just blend everything where you need it to be or how you're feeling at the moment. I feel like that's a little bit more flexible than IRs, so it's a little bit of a give and take. I think both systems are really great, and depending on your use and how you're going to be using it, they're both really great tools.
Yeah, I agree. I've noticed from recording IRs, they can sound really natural. I'd actually like to use those more for live streaming. People are saying that pickups aren't selling now because we're all live streaming, but I find when I plug a guitar straight into my interface or through the Helix or whatever, that's more important because a basic undersaddle pickup plugged straight into your sound card will not sound good. You need to have either a really good pickup or some kind of impulse response. Or both things, right? You need to have that if you're going in direct, because the person at home with their headphones on doesn't want to just hear a quacky undersaddle pickup.
Correct.
Some people say that doesn't matter, but I think it does, and I think people can hear it, and I think at a time like this, when you're sitting at home and there's no like room noise, it's one thing when you're playing in a bar in Nashville downtown and everyone's singing along and drinking and chatting. But when you're sitting at home watching someone on a computer screen and you're hearing the guitar exactly as it is plugged into their interface, then I think it's really important. I really do. And you could use a microphone, but like I said, if you want to use loopers and things like that, then it becomes really important to have a good pickup system or an IR. So are you playing a lot of acoustic guitar now? Like what would be your kind of go-to rig if I said to you, like, what would you use tonight if you were going to play some acoustic stuff? I mean, do you tend to use things like Helix with acoustic guitar, or are you more of a kind of natural unplugged kind of player?
I used to be more of a stage player, but lately, the last I don't know how long, just because I haven't, because more of the repairs and technical side of things have taken over my guitar life. I mostly just enjoy guitar at home. So a lot of the times I'll just be playing acoustic guitar just on my couch or, just kind of enjoying it myself. Lately, I am really enjoying the NX guitar, which is here. That one's just, it plays great. The necks are really nicely profiled. The sound's really good. And if I do want to loop, I have the pickup system available there too.
Yeah, I should really ask Ross if he'd come on and talk through the whole line of acoustic guitars, because I'm not that familiar. I know they released those, and they've made ones with smaller necks for like electric players, which is really clever, because I love nylon guitars, but I always struggle with the big necks on them.
Yes, the NTX models do have this a more narrow neck. They do have the thinner body, a little bit thinner waist. So because also it does have a slightly smaller body, so it does reject a little bit more feedback on stage as well compared to the NCXs.
People say that, but I never, I play in pretty loud bars with speakers behind me. I never have a problem, knock on wood. I mean, I won't have a problem for a while right now. Right now, I'm used to using in-ears, and I've really grown to love it. But when I used to play before the shutdown happened, when I was playing, I didn't, knock on wood, didn't really have a problem with feedback. Maybe with something like a K&K, because all that does is pick up the top of the guitar. So the whole top of the guitar is just like a big microphone, right? So I would have a problem with that. But with a system like this, I don't feel like feedback would be an issue. The mic is so small and inside the guitar. Yeah, I like the fact it's still a full-size Dreadnought on this one. I like that.
That's one of the things I really like about these systems, is that you can get just much more stage volume and a little bit more naturalness with that, without with a lot less feedback that you would get with the more traditional system.
And I'm not an expert on Yamaha guitar history, but the red label guitars, they're not a new thing, right? The red label guitars that this pickup first appeared in were around years ago. Do you know the history of those?
Well, the red label series is more of a callback to the original Japan made the guitars made in the Nippon-gaki factories. So, a lot of great old records, Elliott Smith, a lot of more kind of, it was like what's the best way to put it? It was like a working men's guitar series back then. They were used on so many records, they sounded great, and they're kind of revisiting that. They had the anniversary model a few years back of the FG1. No, where was it? I forget the model name, but that one I really liked. And, just kind of revisiting that heritage of these really well built, really like kind of uniquely voiced acoustic guitars that are not just, built for volume or, just a bunch of stage volume or anything like that, but kind of have a unique voice that is very characteristically Yamaha.
Yeah, so it's a tribute and a throwback to those. But again, I hope they move forward with this. I hope they put it into more models. I'm sure they will. I mean, I wanted to raise awareness.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of people. That don't get me wrong. There are people on YouTube making videos on this, and they're saying it's great. But I'm not seeing as many people talking about it as I think should be talking about it. And I know it's hard to actually get a red label guitar right now, especially what's going on, or the nylon one. But I do hope that we see these on a more wide basis in the future. Rusty Benson says, good insight. Love to see this in the L series. That's basically what I was hinting at with a colorway. And then any recommendations for someone who doesn't have a good sound engineer in the back of the room who can adjust and give you feedback to take an advantage of pickups with flexibility like the Atmosfeel pickup? Okay, so here's a good question then. How would you dial this in? Like, okay, let's say I give you the guitar, all the controls are set to 12 o'clock, okay, and you're going to get on stage and plug in, let's say we're going to plug into an HX Stomp into the PA. How would you dial this in for the room? You got any tips for us?
Well, for usually with acoustic guitars, I would say you do definitely need to rely on a sound engineer. With a full range pickup system that's just fully analog path, you're getting a lot more sound than you need. So, if you didn't have a sound engineer, I would tell people like you have to do a low cut. You make sure you're not going to be feeding back any of those low frequencies. You're going to have to ring out your guitar in the room and everything like that. With this system, what we found is that all the venues that we took it to for trials and testing, it actually just sounded good with almost no EQ on the board. We've tried it we've tested in band situations, we've tested solo, we've tested with huge pedal boards, systems, and it just seems to perform really well with this system. Especially the NX guitars. I spent more time with the NX guitars, so with all the situations that we've tried to put it in, it has performed very well. If anything, for that one, for the NX systems and the FG, the Atmosfeel systems, it's almost plug and go. I would just say, if you have a sound engineer, just tell them to start it with it flat and go from there. And if you want it a little bit brighter, you just turn that, treble EQ up, or on the red labels, turn the bass EQ down a little bit, and kind of just that's going to be your main life right there. If you want a little bit more body, you get the mic control, and if you want a little bit of a brighter or darker sound, you use that EQ control, and it's kind of that simple.
Yeah, I agree. If you've got a sound engineer, tell them to set the board flat if you're running your own sound, and then put everything to 12 o'clock. Use the volume boost when you're going to play a lead or fingerstyle. Bring it back again for strumming. Bring more pickup in if you want to do more of a cutting kind of bright sound, and reduce the mic, because and that will give you much more cutting sound for like a band. And if you want more of a warm round sound, bring the bass up or the mic up, or a combination of both. Best thing is to try both and see what you like. And actually something that I do, and I did it today, is I use the Helix. I bring the looper to the start, I record the guitar, and then I add an EQ after it, and then adjust it. And then when you adjust the EQ, it's actually going to affect the playback that you hear, so you can make changes. That's something that I would do at a gig. It doesn't have to be a Helix, but just get a looper. The Helix is good because it's a looper and an EQ and everything else. So get a looper, record the way you're going to play on the gig, and then walk out the front and listen and think, does it sound right? And if not, go back, or if you've got a stomp and a wireless unit, walk out the front and actually dial in with the looped sound. That's how I would do it if I'm kind of not experienced with the particular system and need to tweak it on the job. I would try and do that, or get a wireless system. Yamaha have wireless, Line 6 have wireless systems. Walk out the front, play the guitar, and really listen. Or find a good sound engineer that can do it for you is always a nice thing to have, isn't it? But I think you're right. You can get enough out of the pickup with the controls on the guitar to get you close enough. And that's why I like it. In that sense, it's very plug and play. But I do feel, for me, that the external EQ can make it even better and really dial it in for my taste. So that's why I recommend you having something like an all-in-one pedal like the HX Stomp, because then you can have a looper, an EQ, and a reverb, and a boost, and just use that as your little acoustic rig. So leading on from that, Eddie says, should I buy a Maton SR808 or the Yamaha FSX and a Yamaha silent guitar for more or less the same amount of money? Suggestions. Well, obviously Sam's going to tell me to buy the Yamaha. And I feel stuck in the middle here because I just had Maton on here last week, so I'm not going to tell you to buy. I've got to be independent here. I'll tell you what I think, because I actually have all those. I have a silent guitar. If you need a silent guitar, like a guitar you can practice with at home silently, if you need that, then get one. And if you want a guitar which is great unplugged and also sounds very natural on stage plugged in, I would say get those two Yamahas. If you watch my live stream from last Saturday, I hadn't played the Maton for a few weeks and it just sounds huge. I think it sounds larger than the guitar. So that's why people like Tommy and Manuel love the Maton systems. They just sound like just a huge punch in the face. If you play that kind of thing and you want that, then I'd say go for that. The best thing to do is to go to my channel and look at the pickup reviews that I have, and you can listen to the Maton system, the silent guitar, and the Atmosfeel back to back. I play the same thing in each one, and then you can decide which one you think sounds the best. Okay, so that's a very personal decision. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. And ideally, you just get all of them. That's what the best thing to do, is to buy every guitar ever made, and then you don't have to worry about these things. No, I'm kidding. They're all great systems. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. The silent guitar, I haven't ever played it on stage. Because I feel like, it's got such that small body, and I'm 6'5", so I feel a bit weird playing it. But I know a guy that does gig with it, and it's great because that won't feedback. Again, if you play in a band and you're worried about feedback, the silent guitar could be the way to go. If you want a very natural sound, definitely the red label. And if you want something very big and over the top, I think the Maton's great for that. Yeah, check out my videos on each system. I've got reviews of all those systems, Eddie. And then let me know if you've got any questions once you've watched them. I'll be happy to help. Someone said FG180. What's that?
That was the one. That was the model that was reissued, I believe.
Ah, okay, awesome. Okay,
that guitar is fantastic.
FG185, my first new guitar. More advanced mic tech is what I'm interested in. More advanced mic tech. I'm not sure what Stardance means. So the FG180 and the FG185? Yeah, I don't know what they are. I'll be honest. Are they the original ones?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe so. They have so many model names and they change so often. I
know.
learned and forgotten a lot of them.
Yamaha have made a lot of guitars over the years.
They're always they always want to improve.
Yeah. I like that. I think it's great. It's like I said, one reason I started my channel was to document all different pickups, and this one just came out of the blue, and I just felt it had to be documented because it is a very well thought out system. I'd love to meet the people that actually made it. I'd love to know exactly the conversations that went on behind making this system, because I think it's so well done. And it's interesting to hear that you're testing it live as well. Do you have like rooms at your headquarters where you actually plug in and do tests with bands and things?
Yes, and we also did go to a few venues and also had a couple prototypes out on the road with artists.
That's cool. So you'd actually go to like an open mic and plug in and play a song.
Well, we've had everyone from full stage productions to just cafe gigs.
Do you know if there's anyone famous gigging? Well, obviously not right now, but has anyone famous got their hands on these guitars that would play on big stages before we got shut down?
I believe Steve Howe tried it, and also oh shoot, I am blanking on names. I'm very, very bad with names.
Yeah, me too.
One second. The Yamaha open house last week. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was a great show.
Yeah, the ending. All right, hold on.
Oh, the panel at the end there, one of those guys.
Yeah, I can't believe I am blanking out on his name.
Someone said, would it be possible to see the Atmosfeel pick up on less expensive Yamaha offerings in the future? Do you think it might come down to the even more affordable guitars, or do you think this is reserved for the kind of slightly sort of mid-range products?
That's hard to say. It is a pretty advanced system, but yeah, if it comes down to it, if we can, we would like to.
I think I slightly disagree with that. I mean, my guitar was $900 total, right? I think that's incredible value. I mean, there's pickup systems that cost $350, $400, and to have them installed would cost you another $150. There's pickup systems that sound worse than this for $500 installed, and the fact that you get the guitar and this one came with a gig bag, which is fine because you're gigging with it. I think that's an incredible deal. And I think anyone looking for something to play plugged in, I just think this is definitely worth checking out at least. A friend of mine got the smaller body one as well, and he's playing his at church, and he's also tried many pickups, and he loves his. He's a luthier as well. So I really think, I don't know how you could afford to put this in a cheaper guitar. I mean, if you made a guitar, I tell you what, I was thinking today, if Yamaha made a rosewood colorway kind of stage guitar, under $1,000 with this system in, they would just sell so many of them to performers. People would buy them just to gig with, and they would sound great, and they'd be affordable, and they could even have a spare one at that kind of price. It's like, I think that the most affordable one you can get now is $900 shipped if you shop around. I think that's a great price. I can't imagine you would put these in like a FG 830, right? It's just that's not going to happen.
Yeah, the system is pretty advanced, so it does take a lot of resources to produce.
Yeah, because it's built into the guitar, so it's obviously adds to production as well. So just so people know, there's the 3 series, which is the one I played. That's made in China. There's the 5 series that's made by the guys in Japan, and then there's the nylon string version. I'll put links below to all the guitars. Let me know in the comments what you think of the system. And I'll definitely feature it some more in the future on the channel. But Sam, I want to say thank you for joining me. Look forward to wish you guys at Line 6 and Yamaha all the best, and look forward to seeing what's coming in the future. A personal plea, please do more for acoustic guitar.
Oh, we definitely try. Thank you for having me.
No, it's been really great. Stick around. I'll say goodbye to you off air. Everyone for watching, thank you so much. Sam, do you have a website or anything?
No, just you can visit us at Line 6, Ampeg, and Yamaha Guitar Group.
Yeah.
We're trying our best and trying to make good stuff for you guys.
Yeah, really appreciate that. Check out the Line 6 Helix official group on Facebook. Subscribe to that if you haven't already. They're about to hit 30,000 members, which is awesome. And yeah, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. And I'll be back with you soon for more performances, reviews, and interviews. So I'll see you then. Everyone be well and stay safe. And thanks for joining me today. Michael Folsom, thanks Sam and Aaron. Thank you. It's been great. Great crowd. And we'll see you in the next video. So bye-bye.